Hello, everyone. Welcome. Thank you all for being here. First of all, I want to say thank you to all of you who participated about a week ago when we did our connection and prayer and meditation for the relief of the fires that were burning up in Los Angeles. I just heard from one of our students who was part of the call that in Los Angeles last night. And I foresaw this. Well, I saw the connection. I had a vision that it was coming, that rain was coming. And although it had not rained in that area over a year, rain started falling last night. So this is a good thing. This is a great thing. And I'm very grateful to God, to Gaia, to the elemental forces, the Elohims, and the Master Devas that control all the elements for having heard us. And we will continue to pray for the lessening of planetary karma and for the lessening of the karma of the people of California, because all of it is karmic based. So I'm very pleased and thank you for all of you to participate, because without you, without all of us going in collectively to connect to these forces, they would not hear us. It takes a certain number of people to create a presence, a spiritual force that's powerful enough to engage them in conversation. So I deeply appreciate your co-creation in this. And in some ways, it is an aspect of theurgy or ceremonial magic. So I thank you so much. Although I'm not like Gandalf, we're not telling these forces what to do. We just present them with the awareness of the devastation that's happening because of the unbalance of the elemental forces. And then we ask for mercy and we let them react at their discretion. We just ask for mercy and we say the Gate Gate Paragate mantra, the Prajna Paramitra mantra multiple times. I think I did it 54th time for Los Angeles, for the group body of Los Angeles, asking for mercy, and then we allow whatever needs to happen to rebalance the forces and allow for a sense of normalcy to return to that part of California. But grateful, deeply grateful for your co-creation and your participation in this. Tonight, I want to discuss, I'm going to go back to the new version of the torsion field that we're doing. And I'm going to talk also about higher dimension and the chakra system and the Antakarana. The model that I want to use is a simple little model, and I've spoken about it before, but we're going to go into greater detail into it tonight. It's the idea of the Russian nested egg, okay? You have the smaller little babushka, on top of it is a bigger one, and a bigger one, and a bigger one, and a bigger one, etc. And you can take the first one and the second one until you get to the one that's in the center. If you can imagine that you and I are the inner part of this series of nested figures, and we exist in three dimension, which means that above us is a fourth dimensional part that's much more etheric, another version of me that's above me. Above that is another one, and another one, and another one, all the way back to God. And each one of the version, from the denser one that I am all the way back up to God, have in them 7 chakras. And the entire system, meaning from my 7th chakra, going all the way back to God in all because the second babushka is 4th dimension, the one after that is 5th dimension, 6th dimension, 7th dimension, all the way back to God. And I wanted to bring to your attention that the entire chakra column, my 3D chakra, my 4D, my 5D, my 6D, all the way back to God, is called the Antakarana. And the Antakarana, often referred to as the rainbow bridge, it's the path back to God. That Antakarana, although the dimension appear to be abruptly separated, there is no separation. It should be like an exhalation to allow you, or an inhalation to allow you to move through them. Although the awareness, the emotional, and the consciousness that exists in 3D, in 4D, 5D are not the same. We're going to go into that in some details in a second. But I wanted to mention that the system is an endless system. Well, not endless, but it goes from where we are all the way back to God, meaning it gets to a point where the lens, it gets to 12th dimension above us, you reach a lens, and that lens is Melchizedek, okay, which is the soul that would animate every branch that exists in our entire universe. And beyond that, and this is in spiritual practice, in spiritual literature, it's typically depicted as a wise older man that is looking at us in profile, because half of his face is looking at manifested dimensional reality. The other half is looking at what is uncreated, which is where God or the unmoved mover actually exists. Now, having said this, I want to go back for a moment and talk about what is a dimension. A dimension is a direction that you can travel in space-time. For example, if you're in 1D, you can travel only in one direction. You get a dot, the dot becomes a line, you can only travel in that direction. 2D, you can travel length, and you can travel also width. So you end up having a plane, a flat plane, like a sheet of paper. 3D, sorry, you add to it, that sheet of paper becomes has height. That sheet of paper becomes a cube or a volume of some kind, where height is actually present in it. Are we good so far? I'm doing a very quick review of what we already covered. You should have at least some basic understanding of what I'm talking about so far. I want to use the analogy that I've been using before to try to explain how the higher dimension comes in and what should we expect are going to happen in these higher dimensions. So with the length and the width and the height factor, I can precisely, if I have the coordinate, I can precisely know where I exist in space. But space is not alone. Space and time actually merge together. But for now, let's just say in space. For example, if I'm on the corner of First Avenue and Second Street, that corner, when I'm standing in it on the sidewalk, will have a longitude, a latitude, and it will have not only that, but a height coordinate as well. Meaning what? Meaning that I could be in that corner where I'm standing. The longitude or the latitude might be correct, but I could be in the subway. And therefore, the height is a minus value that's taking me underground. Or I could be in a building in that corner on the 8th floor of a building. on the roof of a building. And therefore, the height can change. And the location, my location, although if you have the longitude and latitude, it's not enough for you to locate me. You need to also have the height to know where to find me. Or for me to become self-aware of where I am, I need to have these three things clearly in my mind. That I am on the rooftop, because when I stand on the rooftop, the view that I'm having is completely different than the one on the ground or when I'm in the subway. So in terms of my self-awareness and my awareness and my navigation in space, I need these things to give me a present moment awareness of where I exist. And that awareness is important because it will allow me to connect with my environment. Because certainly if I'm in the basement or in underground, there's no sun around me. And what allows me to know and to understand all of this are my five senses. So if I am in the basement, or if I am in the subway, or if I'm in a tunnel somewhere, I would have a different self-awareness of space, of light, of sound, of smell. So therefore, my five senses are coming in to try to illuminate to me exactly where I am. Whereas if I'm the 8th story of a building in that corner, as I'm looking out, the smell are going to be different. The air will blow very differently. The sun will be differently. And all kinds of things will look very differently than if I am in any other place. Although the longitude and the latitude may be the right thing, the height begins to give me a different story. Having said this, we now understand when we talk about 3D, it's 3 direction in which we can understand us, where our consciousness can look, can tell us information about ourselves or in our environment. In this instance, longitude, latitude, x-axis, y-axis, and the z-axis, which is the height. Where am I once I'm in this longitude and latitude? Now, the five senses operate and are supported by my 7 chakras. Going back over the Antakarana we just talked about that exists in all dimensions, going all the way back to God, and each dimension above me, the nested Russian babushkas, like the 4th dimension, the 5th dimension, each dimension has 7 chakras. So the 7 chakra that exists in me, in my body, okay, 1st chakra, 2nd chakra, all the way to the 7th chakra here, all supporting my 5 senses, my 5 sense awareness, to allow me to comprehend and process the 3 dimension of space, length, width, and height. In physical body, me being the center, the smallest babushka, I have 7 chakra in my body, and I'm coordinating and I'm understanding all of this through the 5 senses that are perceiving smell, light or darkness. You know, I'm perceiving things. I'm feeling. I can touch things. I can taste things, etc., etc., to give me a sense of where I am in space. And therefore, my consciousness can say, I'm safe, I'm not safe, or I'm joyous, I'm not happy, I am, you know, I need to walk, I need to move, or I'm going to stand where I am, etc., etc. And I can navigate, beginning, I can make choices. My consciousness can make choices what to do depending on how my chakras are going to emotionally respond and my 5 senses. Now, the Shushuma, that endless chakra column called the Shushuma, is composed of two energies. It's Ida and Pingala. Pingala is the descending energy and Ida is the ascending energy. And the way they work is that they work like the caduceus, or the symbol for medicine, the snake that's wrapping itself. So as the one is Shakti, or the earth energy, rising from the earth, trying to ascend into the heaven. The other one is Shiva, that's trying to descend from the heaven and going into the core of the earth. But it's not a two-lane highway as a simple two-lane. They crisscross each other at many times. And as they crisscross, they wrap around like the two snakes of the caduceus. What happens is that everywhere they cross, a third condition is created called a chakra. So the 7 chakra system that we have in our body, or 7 locations in which Ida and Pingala are crossing each other. Okay? First it starts at the top of your head, then at your eyes, then at your throat, then at your heart, above the belly button, below the belly button, and then at your seat, and then it goes into the ground. Now, the closer to the ground you are, the more Ida or Shakti you will have, and the less Pingala or Shiva you will have. Reversely, if you're in the 7th chakra, the more Pingala or Shiva force you will have, and the less Ida or Shakti energy you will have in there. Now, if you think about the nest babushka, my 4th dimensional self, that's above the 3D and the first 7 chakras. That babushka includes chakra 8 to chakra 15. And that babushka has in it the same crisscrossing of Ida and Pingala. And I didn't want to get into the detail, but Selidia sent an email that mentioned it, and I since it was brought up, I'm going to share it with you. This 4th dimensional chakra does not have just 7 chakra, it has 8 chakra. And there's a reason for this that I will go into right now. Once you transcend and balance, because each of the chakras have emotional issues that are connected to them. The verb for the top chakra is I know, I see, I speak. This is about love. I love. The solar plexus chakra is I will. The 2nd chakra is I feel, and the 1st chakra is I create or I manifest. Meaning that each one of them are trying to touch upon an aspect of how our consciousness is going to make its presence known into the 3D world, and inversely exit the 3D world to go back into God, because it's the descent and the ascent of God. It's the in and out of breath of God. What happened is that once we have mastered, because to the people in the light community, the lower 3 chakras, the solar plexus, the sexual chakra, and the 1st chakra don't exist. People love to go into love into the 3rd chakra, the 3rd eye, and the pineal gland chakra, but the lower chakra, no one wants to touch. And because no one wants to touch it, the emotional issues that are connected in them are not discussed. No one wants to deal with it. No one touches it. No one wants to deal with it. And it's a mistake. We are all top heavy and we're bottom weak. So as you're going through the acceleration that's going on right now, the quickening, issues that are lower 3 chakra connected are going to become crises. That might cause many of us to have emotional or psychological things that are accelerating for us that we need to balance in some ways. Now, what I want to mention as well is that as I'm explaining this, at some point, and this is why we do all the Dantian work, we do the query, we do all of the inner work and the shadow work inside of us to figure out what belongs to us, what belongs to the outside, what karma we're dealing with as we query ourselves, and how do we balance this karma with forgiveness, all of the heavy work that we've been doing. It allows us to balance the lower chakras with emotional intelligence, social intelligence, and spiritual intelligence. Once they are balanced, all of the chakras, and this is a process that happens automatically, although there is an exercise to accelerate them, that I've done the exercise with many of you in the past before, but I'm trying to remind you now. Once the 7 chakra balance themselves out, they begin to vibrate as one unified chakra, meaning they harmonize with each other as a scale of increasing value, but where there is no flat or sharp keys. Everything is the exact note, okay? And when that happens, the chakras, if you think, the way to think about the whole chakra system, even all the way back to Melchizedek itself and then to God, think of them as beads in a necklace. And there is one string that the necklace that passes through all the beads. So once the 7 chakras are balanced and they shine and reflect the light of God perfectly, and the Shushuma passes through them perfectly, what happened is that the first chakra now drops, like somebody pulls the bottom string, and it drops into the ground 1 level. And when it does this, all of the entire chakra column moves down 1 level. So the 7th chakra that was here comes now to the position of the 6th chakra. Okay? And then the 6th chakra goes down to the 3rd chakra, and so on and so forth. Right? What happened when this occurred, my first 4th dimensional chakra, which is the 8th chakra, comes down now into the position of the 7th chakra. And then a succeeding pool is created again. So now instead of the 1st chakra going to the earth, the 2nd chakra is pulled down. And then it cascades even further down. So now the 8th chakra is here, the 9th chakra is there. Okay? And so on and so forth. And slowly, one by one, the entire 4th dimensional body begins now to vibrate and descend, cascade down, and descend to replace the now descending 3D chakras that go into the core of the earth. And for that to happen, the 8th chakra, which is the extra one, will drop into what is called the 0 chakra, into the core, below your feet. The 8th chakra comes below your feet. The 9th chakra replaced now the place of the 1st chakra. The 10th chakra is now the place of where the 2nd chakra was. And then the 15th chakra is now where the 7th chakra was. It's a way to ground the higher dimensional chakra. That's why there's an extra chakra there. Any questions, any comments? I'm going to stop here because I've said quite a bit. Any question, any comments? Lydia, did that answer your question? Or what I assume to be your unposed question?
Yeah, well, it did because it helped me to see it. Because it's like, like if you have a colada that has a lot of holes, and as each one of them drops, then the holes are all lined up, so that you don't have a closure here and an opening there, it continues to line up. So that's the reason why I was trying to find that information so that I could repicture it with a better understanding. And actually, the original, drawings I had some drawings that showed it, but I can't find those. Maybe they were only in the IAM archives or whatever. But yes, it did help me to understand what are those chakras and what do they mean. And it's just so much. It's just like it's a fantastic kind of I'm just in awe of this spiritual body. So yes, it did help. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Any other comment or question?
I have a question, Pierre, and I'm not too clear, so a little confused. If we have all of the chakras balanced, they become one chakra. But then you just were speaking about the first chakra descending below your feet. I suppose that goes into the second dimensional being, and then vice versa, further down into the first dimensional. So at what point does that happen, that just one chakra descends? Does that one chakra get somehow so attuned that it no longer needs to stay part of the 7 chakras of our physical 3D personage? Or is it all as one chakra when they're all balanced, that they all then descend but are still somehow individual?
Okay, so and let's not make it too complicated. So what happened is that once they are all balanced and they are functioning at optimum, what happened is that the next part of the process is that you've transcended your 3D body. You need to ground now your fourth dimensional self has to be brought down and be grounded. So what happens is that the chakras one by one will begin to descend. I'm going to say something that happened to all young men. It's like having your testicle inside your body and at some point it drops. It just drops because the issues that are connected to, for example, first chakra, you've balanced them. And as it drops, it drags the whole necklace, the beaded necklace, it drags everything down one level. And then maybe a few days later, the reason it doesn't happen all at once, the change is too abrupt. It's too dramatic. You wouldn't be able to handle it. It will create a spiritual crisis. People who have Kundalini arising experiences where they start going crazy, it's because it happened all at once because of medicine that they're taking or whatever. You don't want this to happen all at once. It has to happen gradually.
Okay, so the chakras becoming one aren't as significant, maybe is the word, as the each one descending at over whatever period of time till all 7 are
Yes.
Descended below the feet, and the fourth dimensional chakras are in place. Then
they are in place. They will be installed, and then at some point they're going to get activated. They are 2 separate processes. Well, first they will descend, they will be installed, and then at some point they will be activated, meaning that they will start functioning. Because if you can imagine, your wiring is completely changing when this is happening. You're going to get higher wiring. You're going to exist now in your 4th-dimensional body fully. It takes a minute. It's not going to happen overnight. And the process itself is going to be, let's just say, eventful. You're going to have different kind of experiences, because what happened in the 4th dimension, time becomes different. Since we have the 3 dimension is length, width, and height. In let's say we are on the corner of First Street and Second Avenue again, we can know now all three coordinates of space, and so that we can locate ourselves and can invite a connection with the friends or with some other energy system or whatever. But what time are you in that corner? What time are you in those coordinates? Is it yesterday? Is it last week? Is it tomorrow? Is it in 2 hours? So time becomes the next part that becomes important in 4D. It's the perception of a future time or past time. And at that moment in 4D, time loop itself. When you're looking at something, you see it not just as a singularity of experiences that you can remember in your past that happened. I remember my birthday last year. I remember, what I ate 2 days ago. I remember walking with a friend. I remember talking to my deceased parents, whatever. But it's also about you have access to the future. You can see the future. And it becomes a line and a linear, another coordinate that didn't exist before, that or at least with the 5D, not the 5D, with the 5 senses that you did not, that was not in your vocabulary before. Now that vocabulary, as you have your 4-dimensional body anchored in, and once they start firing up and activated one by one, it's like if you can imagine, you have these now 8 balls, 8 vortices of light that have descended. Each one of them has to be ignited to function correctly. And as that happens, you will begin to perceive time differently. You become the Ouroboros, the snake that's swallowing its own tail. You see things from beginning to end in a very different way than the way we see everything very linear in front of us. Thus, these chakras 8 to 15 allow us to connect with what is called the tesseract, which is a geometric symbol that represents how we would perceive a shadow of a 4-dimensional object. It looks like a torsion field, a perpetual motion thing where things are wrapping around itself and we can see everything from beginning to end. So if you have intuitive insight during meditation where you're seeing things, it seems from beginning to end, meaning that there is no linear sequence, the way we see things on a linear way, meaning that you perceive them like you would see friends or family members, like or you're dreaming about something, or you're seeing something in a vision during a meditation, and you're seeing young age, old age, and all kinds of sequence. That's a 4D perception. At that moment, you're tapping. I don't know if your 4-dimensional chakra have descended yet, but it doesn't have to descend for you to tap into it. Sometimes you tap into it because you ascend into it. You've surrendered all of your 7 chakra, and then you allow yourself to float above. And as you go up, you connect to it and you perceive the landscape of the 4th dimension, which is to have a different understanding of time, where you can actually go forward in time or go backward in time. Because at that moment, your consciousness can jump, literally, because to your consciousness, and I'm not talking about your physical body for now, but to your consciousness, it's like scientists who are doing research or asking us to think of a pink elephant or seeing a pink elephant. When you wire your brain, when you think of an orange, and you see an orange, the same place in your brain that gets fired when you have a physical orange in front of you that you're holding and seeing an image of it, it's the same place. So to your consciousness, when you're perceiving, for example, something that has not happened yet or that is about to happen, a potential for manifestation, for example, when you're seeing the landscape of the future and you see a potential of something that's about to happen, that perception has a very specific vibratory signature or frequency. And that frequency and that vibratory signature is an evolving sense that is not five senses related. It is a transcendental sense. And once the fourth dimensional body, you have access to it, you will evolve, that part will evolve more and more, and you will begin to perceive more and more of that having foresight or sight of things that have happened in the past and things you're not supposed to know. I have certain people around me sometimes who are very afraid, and sometimes my clients, they get very afraid of me. I had somebody accuse me of black magic a couple of times, a client, because I know things I'm supposed not to know. During meditation and prayer, suddenly it's like I have access to information. Even first name and last name. Like sometimes they don't mean to do it. Sometimes the clients, or the worst lies are the lies we tell ourselves. So sometimes the client is trying to tell you a story. They are stuck on something and they're trying to have you mentor them about something. And to themselves, they are lying so much that they're telling you the story by editing it to match the warp, distortion, and false belief that they're holding. But when I'm listening and I am in my fourth dimensional body, I see the truth. It's like a little vignette that opens up. And sometimes I get full name, first name and last name of the people. I had a client that reached out to me that wanted me to do a clearing. And I usually prepare like a couple of days before. And as I was doing the Ho'oponopono to prepare, and as I'm preparing and I'm doing the Ho'oponopono, and the name came in, first name and last name. And when we did the clearing, as I was doing the clearing, I said the first name and the last name. The person was completely shocked. This was somebody that existed in their life that was no longer a name. I was related to the building where they were working, and the person is no longer there. And it was consequently because of something that they said, and there was a whole karma that was connected to this that was blocking, that was creating a block for the, and the removal of that block was necessary for the clearing. And that's a fourth dimensional perception. Because you're perceiving, as you're beseeching and asking for forgiveness for this client, you're seeing something they had blocked for themselves, but you're seeing the whole thing. It went back in the past to pick up an event that was creating the block. Sometimes it goes in the future as well, as a potential for manifestation. Does that make any sense?
It's like a layer of illusion is removed.
Yes.
As we ascend, fewer and fewer illusions will remain.
Yes. And you're perceiving things, past, present, and future, and without the restriction and the straitjacket of a 3D anchor that's trying to limit it. We can only, you're not allowed to see this. You can see it for yourself, you can see it for other people as well.
I also find it very interesting. I hadn't remembered the Ida or Shiva and the Pegala or Shakti not rotating, but ascending, descending movements, I guess you would say, within the Antakarana. It's sort of resembling the torsion field,
Yes.
rotating, counter-rotating. This seems to be another common theme that that's all connected through all the dimensions, not just through the current 3D for us, right? It
Yeah.
doesn't stop
Correct.
at the seventh chakra.
Correct. It goes all the way through all the chakras, all the way back into God.
And oh, by the way, is it Ida that descends or ascends?
Pingala descend, Ida ascend.
Ida ascends. Okay. I had it just reversed.
Right.
Thank you.
Yes. So in this explanation that I'm giving you, I want you to understand that once, okay, don't worry about the descent of the chakra for now, but be aware that the first higher dimensional chakra, which is the fourth one, has an extra chakra in it, which is the eighth chakra. It's a peculiarity, but it's a necessary peculiarity because once the higher dimension drops in, it needs to ground it in the zero chakra. Okay? Just remember that. All the other higher chakras only have 7. Okay? So if in the event that your fourth dimensional chakra were to descend and drop into to replace now your already descended 3D chakras, what's going to happen is that your fifth dimensional chakra, so chakra 15 is going to be at the top of your head where the 7th chakra was, and the 16th chakra is going to be floating right above your head. And your fifth dimensional body will go from chakra 16 to 22. Above that, the next babushka, it's going to be the 6th dimensional chakra. It will be chakra 23 to 29. Above that will be the 7th dimensional chakra. It will be chakra 30 to 36, and so on all the way back to God. Any questions, any comments? We had spoken about that part a few times already, and I'm repeating this because the information is new and it's kind of like unusual. I want to repeat it until we get it. Now, let's talk about the quality, or rather the understanding of space-time that exists in the 5th dimension. Whereas in the 4th dimension, space-time is understood as space that wrapped on itself. The Ouroboros, you can see the past and the present, and things are looping up on themselves. Sometimes when I'm talking to a client and I'm doing the mentorship or coaching, they say something, and then, as I said, a little vignette showed up. And I can begin to see, because people don't realize that they are lying to themselves, or they jump over something. And the way it looks to me when I'm listening to them, it's like there is continuity on the storyline that they're saying. And again, for that to happen, you have to learn how to listen. I had a student reach out to me after the council meeting last Sunday to say to me that she's hearing, when she's in her home, she has no music and nothing playing, and she's hearing music in the background. It's because she's learning how to really listen. Because when you're beginning to be so surrendered, and you're trying to listen to everything around you with your heart, you will begin to hear all kinds of sounds and all kinds of things that you may have ignored before. Harmonious, it's not exactly music, but it's tone and notes, frequencies and vibration, like almost like hummings that are in the background that you're hearing. There is a pitch that I hear all the time. It's like a background noise or white noise, but it has a very specific pitch. And the more surrendered I am, the more I can hear it. And when I go in deep meditation and I go into such a deep surrender to it, sometimes I hear a female voice talking to me. a goddess, an aspect of the divine feminine talking to me. Those are connected to 4D hearing, higher hearing. It's not, I'm not hearing to, the siren or the fireman sirens or my kid's neighbor playing in the backyard. I'm hearing something else, something transcendental, the music of the spheres. Questions, comments?
I appreciate that, Pierre. I also have, well, in a maybe different way, I'll always have sounds, music, whatever in my head. But I wanted to mention that this is an interesting connection maybe to an astrological event that's looming of the 7 planets aligning.
Yes.
And I've been told that one of the things that this will bring in is a new, how will I say, approach to wellness that deals with sound frequencies. Sound becomes the healer, and your suggestion that maybe that's already coming in by hearing tones is interesting, perhaps prelude to what we can expect.
Wow, beautiful, beautiful. I didn't hear that, but thank you for sharing. Thank you. So yeah, I'm for years now, and again, the more I listen, the more quiet and still I remain, and I go in meditation, and the more I can actually, it's not music that's in my head. I can actually hear it through my ear. It's not, it's actually tones and pitch. And they are not the same all the time. That's the crazy thing. And as I said, when I surrendered to it, and I kept saying, I'm listening, and I'm paying attention, and my consciousness focused on them. All of a sudden, sometimes I hear voice but it's like a soft whisper. It's not loud. You have to pay very careful attention to it. And then there is a voice that's actually speaking. And it's part of that fourth-dimensional loop that I'm talking about. But in 5D, when chakra 16 to 22, when you elevate to that level, what's happening at that moment is that those chakras, when they come in, instead of you standing First Avenue and Second Street, since we're using that as an example, and perceiving the future horizon, what's going to happen to you, or what's going to happen to the person that you're talking to at the time, what's your relationship with them, how that relationship is going to evolve, that kind of thing. What happened when you are seeing the landscape, the higher chakras, the fifth dimensional chakras are coming in, instead of seeing one future. And initially, the way it comes in is that you begin to see 2 future. Because, okay, when the future shows up, either for you as a potential of what's going to happen in your life or on the planet, or for a client, it's not like a trumpet, like Archangel Gabriel coming and screaming like a thunderclap. This is going to happen, Peter. This is not the way it happened. It's a very soft wave, and it's not necessarily, although there is visual sometimes connected to it, but the visual comes with a tremendous amount of soft wave. Sometimes it's a word, it's a sentence. For me, sometimes it's clairaudient. It's a wave, soft wave and whisper of knowing. It's not loud, but it's a complete knowing. It's all of a sudden it hits you and you're like, okay, this is what's going to happen. If I continue in that path, this is what's going to happen to me. Okay? So I have a choice to change. This is spirit trying to warn me. Choose a different path or continue on that path. when the chakra 16, the fifth dimensional chakras are coming in, chakra 16 to 22, what happened at that moment is that I see initially two potential futures. Instead of one, the wave comes in and I see two things simultaneously. Not one and then the second one. Okay, one and then 5 minutes later, the second one. No, at once, the wave hits, both of them are there at the same time, simultaneously. That part is important because now, instead of one future on the horizon, you're seeing now two future, and this is the way it evolved for me. It might be slightly different for you, but this is the way it evolved for me. I begin to see for myself and for my client two potential manifestation. And I can begin to direct them. You have two choices in front of you. This potentially could happen, that potentially could happen. And because everything in the future is not yet landed, the client or I still have the choice to walk into that future or to veer off, to navigate myself out of it if it's unfavorable to me. And over time, what's going to happen is that that will evolve into seeing now multiple, and I don't mean just two at the time, sometime all to 5 or 6 of them at the same time. I remember the first time, I think it was 5 or 6 of them that showed up at the same time. My linear brain, my 3D cognitive that's linear, that's trying to calculate. You have to understand something because you're still connected to your physical body. So when these 2 or 3 things begin to show up, your linear brain is still trying to think of a way to remember these multiple different, they're completely different from each other. They are not in the same neighborhood. It's because of this, it's because of that, that's because of a past life, that's because of this is because, they're completely different. And when you, and my linear, particularly when there were 4 or 5 of them, I am in my brain at that moment trying to say to myself, oh my God, how do I remember all of these things? I have to say to you, for your first experience of having 5D time future horizon experience, be very aware that if you see 2 things, because first you were perceiving one thing and that one thing was a potential for manifestation, and you're trying to navigate yourself to the toward that manifestation or avoiding it. When you're seeing 2 of them, if you try to fight it and saying, wait a minute, which one is it, spirit? You're still showing me 2 things. If you do this, that sense, that higher perception will withdraw because you're trying to fit it. It's an evolution, it's an expansion, and you're trying to fit it in a lower box or a lower perception set. So when it's showing up, just witness it without any comment, or you asking spirit, which one is it? Because you're showing me 4 or 5, which one is it? Observe all of them equally. And this is where cognitively, frontal lobe, it becomes an explosion in your head because you will not remember or linearly all of them simultaneously because it's too much data, too much information. I'm trying to be as candid and as real with you as possible to allow you to understand how to process this information in anticipation that you're going to get there in short order. And when this happens for you, you will begin to say, oh yeah, I remember Pierre saying this. Somebody also was saying that in the 4D, every object and everything that we see has either a light perception connected to it or sound, a pitch or a tone. So that could be the reason why, sometimes I'm hearing a pitch. I believe, personally, I believe the pitch that I'm hearing all the time, and the more I talk about it, the louder it becomes in my head. Otherwise, it goes in the background. It's like, I think it's the Schumann resonance. I don't know if I'm right, but I think the Schumann resonance. Although it's not the same all the time, and which makes sense because the Schumann resonance fluctuate. Any questions, any comments? Now, when you get into the 6D, you now can bilocate or multilocate, meaning that in case of need, the people that are in your care can begin to see you appear in front of them wherever they are. And or you begin to be very aware of them or their crisis at the very moment that they're having the crisis. And you can extend through the practice of your torsion field, your love, your peace, your serenity, and your neutrality. You can begin to extend it to them. So what happened in the 6D is as follows. We talked about the 3D coordinate, the length, width, and height coordinates that combine together in the timeline, in the future and past projection, create a very specific and unique frequency and vibration. Be it light and sound combined, it creates a very specific and unique vibration. For you, for me, for example, to be sitting here and wanting, for example, to be sitting next to you as you're listening to this class is a question of my consciousness understanding in that continuum, that's time-space continuum, where I am at this moment, and then talking to my already existing self that is actually everywhere in the universe. In quantum mechanics, this cup that I'm holding in my hand, or my presence sitting here, exists everywhere in the universe at the same time. So whether it's the past, the present, the future, it doesn't matter. It exists everywhere at the same time. It's a range of possibilities. It's a vast range of possibilities. So for me to show up, since I have a connection to you, I have to talk to my already existing self intuitively. This is a quality that exists in 6D. I have to connect to myself that already existed next to you and have my consciousness and my complete beingness shifted from where I am to where you are. By now creating around myself in 3D the exact duplication of the space-time length, width, height, and time coordinate that you exist in at that very moment. And that's then with the speed of thought. And the moment I can begin to think of, and the way it's done, really, you think of your torsion field, and then I think of you and your name, wherever you, and I find you in the torsion field where it's connected, and then I connect to you, and I sent you the peace, the projection. May the peace, the serenity, and as I do this, but that location in space, that wherever you are, whether you're here, wherever you are in my torsion field, I begin to completely surrender into it. And at the moment I do this, I not only see and connect to you, but from your perspective in 3D, you will see me next to you. I have, in a blink of an eye, manifested to that location. Now, this is something in the early days, meaning pre-pandemic and that I used to do conscious and unconsciously quite often with my students. I am not yet at I'm not, because of all of the gift that came from the quickening and the acceleration. I have discovered other things in my psyche that still need to be repaired for me to go back to that state again. Whereas before, I used to go there quite often, and few of my students would say to me, "Oh, I saw you. There was no question. You were there. You were right next to me. I saw you, Pierre." And at the time when they were saying this, I could feel their need and their desire to connect to me, and I would actually think of them and send them love and light. And for a moment, I bilocated to them. In 7D, you will physically move. It won't be just awareness and the physical appearance. You will physically disappear from where you are and show up at a different location. And I'm talking displacement of matter, of physical matter. Any questions, any comments?
But it sounds like elements of these other higher dimensions can seep into our 3D reality that we're mostly in, at least. I know for myself, and again, years ago, I had experience of being bilocating, and it was in a rehearsal, and I was on stage singing with the pianist, a song by Schubert, Death of the Maiden, and the part of singing the part of death, the thought came to my mind, I wonder if this eyes closed visual looks appropriate for death, and at that instant I was at the back of the hall looking at myself on stage.
Mm-hmm.
And it startled me, and it was immediately changed back.
Right, of course.
But there have been a couple of things like that have happened.
Mm-hmm.
What does that mean?
It means you access the sixth dimension. That piece was so elevated you so much and so transcendental to you that it took you into your sixth dimensional body.
There was another experience. It wasn't at all transcendental. It was walking down a street early in the morning, and only one other person was on the whole street for blocks on the other side of the street. And I'm saying, I'm looking at that person. She's probably looking at me. I wonder what that experience would be from her perspective, seeing the only other person on for blocks walking. And at that moment, I was on the other side of the street looking at myself walking. So it wasn't a transcendental.
Yes, it is transcendental.
Oh.
Just because it was easy to do doesn't mean that you have to, because it's not a normal state.
Oh, I see what you mean. Oh, okay. I thought you meant musically it was.
No. The music can actually facilitate it, but it can happen in any other condition as well. I shared with you the fact that there are gurus, there are teachers that I know when my own teacher, Dr. Stone, or Amma for that matter, when her students are in crisis, she literally shows up next to them and pulled them out of the crisis. And she's aware of what's happening. There was an incident that had happened last year where she actually at the time she was going to a procession. They were celebrating the Day of the Guru. And she was under an umbrella, and there were all these people. They were chanting and all of that. And all of a sudden, she's walking, and she fumbled. She almost fell.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody ran, "Are you okay? Are you okay?" And then what happened? 2 hours later, there was a call coming from India. She simply said, "One of my children called me. One of my children called me." That's all she said. She said, "Mother is okay. One of my children called me." And then later on, 2 hours later, near our ashram, there was one of a devotee that was in a rice field that put a basket down, and after the end of the day was trying to take the basket back. And when he opened the basket, there was a cobra in it. He dropped it and screamed, and the cobra launched at him. And he screamed, "Amma, help!" And then she appeared, showed up, grabbed the cobra, threw it out, and it disappeared.
Oh. Does that mean that they are living in the sixth dimension, although in a physical sort of
Well,
3D
in this
world?
instance, this woman, Amma, is the incarnation of Sarasvati. She's the goddess of knowledge, music, and art. She's the incarnation of that goddess. She's a powerful being. She's an Elohim, a Devi. She is the incarnation of an Elohim in full consciousness since she was a little girl. She's a gift to the world. An aspect of the divine feminine, if you will. So she exists in all of her. She's not like you and I. Her six-dimensional, seven-dimensional chakra all aligned. All when you sit in front of her, she seems not like a normal person, a nice, sweet lady, and etc. And at some point during the chanting, I've seen her twice. All of a sudden, something immense shows up. Something huge. And that's when I know, oh my God, I realize who she is. And she gives blessings when you see her. You write on the card whatever struggle you're going through, health, whatever it is, it doesn't matter. And you hand it to her, and she puts her hand in your head, and she bless you. And she helped remove the problem or accelerate. When a guru or teacher is telling you that they are removing the karma, it's not the karma that they are removing. They are giving you an acceleration for the resolution to occur. They don't take the karma away. They help accelerate the healing process.
It's like the karmic board that you were speaking of last week.
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
It's very interesting.
Yes.
Thank you.
So your experience, Janice, you should cherish this. So what I would say to you, you have that gift naturally. That's one of your ability. It's to bilocate. If it's already happening to you, it's because you have it naturally. Some people have a proclivity for music, a proclivity for math, a proclivity for whatever. For sports, for, whatever. You already have that. When the time comes, it will be something that will be easy for you to do. Now, the way it happens is that you were projecting, because what you said, I wonder what it would be like to see myself from the perspective or that of a different location. It is similarly the way you project. Is that you ask, let's say I want to be in India right now. And you would have to really mean it and say to yourself, and what you did it in contemplation, because that's what happened. You were contemplating. You were in a reverie, thinking what it would be like to be in the other side and looking at myself alone in that street. contemplation is a legitimate part of any spiritual practice.
It's like you said, the consciousness is more powerful than the laws of nature.
That's correct.
So
Consciousness override all the laws of nature.
fascinating.
And if your consciousness is, sometimes we don't think about these things, it's because we've been domesticated not to think about them. I propose to you this, Janice. Let's say you're in a state of sickness. Ask yourself what it would be like to look at yourself healthy.
Hmm. Wow. Why not?
Absolutely. Because all the states are simultaneously existing everywhere.
We just choose.
Yep. Yep. Sometimes, for whatever karmic reason, we choose to exist in our pain body.
Yes.
You can choose to exist in your body of joy.
Hmm.
You have a proclivity, you have a gift for it. It happened already. It's a matter of leaning into it. Think of what you were and what state you were in when these two things happen. And then from there, project and extrapolate from there into what you want.
It's a worthy explanation. Thank you.
Yes, you're welcome. Any other questions or comments? Okay, let's take a 5-minute break and then we'll do our closing meditation. 5 minutes.
Take a very deep and slow breath. And as you inhale and exhale deeply and slowly, allow the universal life force that permeates everything to enter into your lungs. Keep breathing deeply and slowly. And let your soul and your awareness drop in the middle of your chest. Please forgive me. I love you. And I let go. Please forgive me. I love you. And I let go. Let your mind and your heart sync with each other. And notice what you noticed. And the guardian alliance of light approached you, offering to gift you their shields of light and protection and a band of neutrality. If you are ready to accept this gift at this time, answer affirmatively. And let the energy of the first guardian begin to arise from the core of the earth, counter-rotating, moving through the bottom of your feet, passing through your entire core, exiting outside of your head, traveling to your fourth dimensional body, exiting outside your fourth dimensional body, and creating all around you a torsion field of neutrality. Begone time and space. The axis at the top of your head extends and it goes all the way to the top of the fifth dimensional body, attracting the second guardian, coming down from source while rotating clockwise and dropping down your chakra column into the top of your head, moving through the bottom of your feet into the core of the earth, rotating clockwise and creating all around you a torsion field of neutrality. Begone time and space. The axis at the bottom of your feet extends and it attracts now the energy of the third guardian coming in as it extends into the sixth dimensional body, counter rotating, moving through the chakra column, passing to the bottom of your feet, exiting outside of your head, and going all the way out into the sixth dimensional chakra system and creating all around you a torsion field of neutrality. Begone time and space. The axis at the top of your head extends into and outside of the seventh dimension, coming in from source, counter rotating, cascading down your chakra column, moving into the top of your head, exiting at the bottom of your feet, and going into the core of the earth and creating all around you the torsion field of neutrality. Begone time and space. The axis at the bottom of your feet extends and it attracts now the energy of the fifth guardian coming in from the bottom of the fifth dimension, the eighth dimension, counter-rotating, passing through your entire chakra column, moving through your core, exiting outside of your head, and passing through all of the top of your Antakarana, exiting at the top of this eighth dimension, and creating all around you the torsion field of neutrality. The axis at the top of your head extends and it attracts now the energy of the sixth guardian coming in from source, dropping in from the ninth dimension, passing through your entire chakra system, the top of your head, cascading down, rotating clockwise, exiting at the bottom of your feet, going into the core of the earth, and creating all around you a torsion field of neutrality. The axis at the bottom of your feet extends into the 10th dimension, and the energy of the seventh guardian comes in, counter-rotating, moving upwards from there into the bottom of your feet, passing through your core, exiting outside of your head, and into the top of the 10th dimension, and creating all around you the torsion field of neutrality. Be gone, time and space. The axis at the top of your head extends, and it attracts now the energy of the eighth guardian coming in from the 11th dimension, passing your chakra column into the top of your head, moving through your core, exiting at the bottom of your feet, and going to the core of the earth, and creating all around you the torsion field of neutrality. Be gone, time and space. The axis at the bottom of your feet extend, and the energy of the night guardian comes in into the 12th dimension, rising up, moving through the bottom of your feet, counter-rotating, moving through your core, exiting outside of your head, into the top of the 12th dimension above you, and encircling all around you and creating a torsion field of neutrality. The axis at the top of your head extends and it attracts now the energy of the 10th guardian, cascading down from souls and coming in from the 13th dimension, rotating clockwise, passing through your entire chakra column, moving through the top of your head, passing through your entire body, exiting at the bottom of your feet and going to the core of the earth, while creating all around you a torsion field of neutrality. The axis at the bottom of your feet extends, and it attracts now the energy of the 11th guardian, counter-rotating, coming in from the 14th dimension, moving through the bottom of your chakra column, passing through the bottom of your feet, moving through your core, exiting outside of your head, and going into the top of the 14th dimension while creating all around you. The torsion field of neutrality. Be gone, time and space. The axis at the top of your head extends, and it attracts now the energy of the 12th guardian, cascading down from the 15th dimension, counter-rotating, moving through your chakra column, passing through your core, exiting at the bottom of your feet, and going to the core of the earth, while creating all around you. the torsion field of neutrality. Beyond time and space, observe the 12 counter-rotating axes and dimensions that are spinning in your core. The celestial axis and I are one. I am Melchizedek, I am the light divine. I am love. I am will. I am power. I am fixed, designed. Thank you for the blessings. I accept the gifts and I receive with gratitude. Thank you for the blessings. I accept the gifts and I receive with gratitude. Thank you for the blessings. I accept the gifts and I receive with gratitude. Take a very deep and slow breath. And whenever you feel ready, you can open your eyes.
Thank you. Thank you, Pierre.
You're welcome, Janice. this is a different version of the torsion field, of course, with the understanding of the dimensions. I want to thank all of you for listening tonight, and thank you for all of you listening on Patreon. Thank you for the support. Like this video, subscribe to the channel. I will talk to you all next week. Have a blessed week, everyone, and thank you so much for being in my life. Love you all. Good night.
Good night, everyone. Love you all.